Hey everybody, it's Sandy and welcome back to my channel dedicated to helping you advocate for your own health one topic at a time. So guys, today I want to talk about something that has come up now several times in the Sandy's DIY Health Advocacy Facebook groups page, and that is going to the dentist during the pandemic. Yeah, so back about a year ago when we thought we were at the height of the pandemic, right? And before we had vaccines, I did touch on this here and there, this topic, but it's recently come up again. And, I found that fortunately somebody in the Facebook group is a dentist, I believe, and therefore was able to comment and really enlighten me about a couple of things. So I just kind of wanted to share, what my experience is and what I'm doing these days, what my concerns are, and then some questions that I have that are still unanswered, and maybe you guys have some too. So first of all, it is scary going to the dentist, obviously, because that's an environment where you have to have a mask off. People who frequent this channel, I think a lot of them found me because I was doing a lot of mask reviews earlier on in the pandemic. These are people who care about affording themselves some protection, and it's a little bit scary to go to an environment now where you have to take off that protection and let somebody work in your mouth. And in addition to that, you're in an environment where they are eliciting a lot of aerosols, right? So the ultrasound machine, that Cavitron that dentists often use, or the hygienists actually use to clean the teeth, those emit all kinds of aerosols into the room. So I personally have found myself really concerned, very scared about going to the dentist. On top of that, I've had this unfortunate situation where the person who has been our dentist for as long as we've been in our current home has retired and has sold the practice to somebody else. And I don't have as good a feeling about this new guy. And I've decided to switch dentists. So that's also kind of a scary thing. It's an unknown in a pandemic, and being a new one on the block, I don't really have the leverage there. I'm not an established patient or anything. So I can't say I'm not a little bit concerned about that, but I just decided that the unknown was probably better than what I didn't like about the known, and that was that the new dentist who bought the practice that we've been going to for many years now is not vaccinated, and I noticed there was a policy change where they have decided that they will not comment at all on vaccine status. Now, I understand you probably are walking a fine line there and you can't disclose personal health information of individual people who work there, but it just seemed like as soon as this guy bought the practice, there was a real wall that went up about we're not going to have a talk about vaccines. And it's not the environment I want to be in for that. Now, I know that they're masked and they're behind shields and they have all the PPE on, and really what matters more is the other patients in the dentist's office, but that's not going to be a practice that overselects for people who are concerned about vaccine status. So the place that I'm going to be establishing myself as a new patient, and I have an appointment in November, when I asked them on the phone, the answer was yes, we are all vaccinated, including the staff at the front desk. So I just thought that was in the plus column. Does it mean that every patient who walks in the door is vaccinated? No, it doesn't. So people have asked me a lot in the Facebook group, what have I done about my dental health and going to the dentist? And by the way, I welcome anybody who has any know-how at all to please be prolific in the comments section and write anything that you think might be helpful to people, because I'm just going to tell you what I've done. So I'm going to insert my usual disclaimer, which is that I'm not giving any medical advice on this channel or dental advice, and nothing that I say should be deemed a substitute for the advice of your own qualified practitioner. That said, I will tell you how I've handled my dental work during this pandemic and what I'm planning to do the next time that I go in. Well, early on in the pandemic, I actually skipped a dental cleaning. Now, I have very good checkups, thank goodness. I mean, I can't remember the last time I had a problem elicited on a dental cleaning and checkup, so I've been very good about all the things you're supposed to do preventively. So I generally do floss daily. There were times in the past where maybe I skipped a day here and there. But when it came to the time during the pandemic and I knew that I was postponing my cleanings because there was no such thing as a vaccine yet on the horizon, and I decided that I was just going to floss every single day. And just as an aside, I'm actually thinking about going to flossing twice a day, just because my husband read the book that's out by Dr. Sanjay Gupta. He's like the CNN doctor or whatever, and he talks about brain health. And apparently there is some kind of a correlation with flossing twice a day and better health. So, the flossing is really what gets rid of the biofilm so that then you can clean better. So I don't think it's a bad idea to going to twice a day, but I can tell you that during pandemic, I have not skipped a day no matter what. So floss every single day. I do use a Sonicare toothbrush. Now, I don't have the Cadillac most souped up model. There are many different models and it can almost be confusing when you look. I got mine on Amazon. I got this one pretty recently. My previous Sonicare I had for many years and like you couldn't even get the brush heads anymore. But I'm going to link it down below. I'll find this one and put it down below. I wish that this was one that had the stand with separate toothbrushes that you could put on and off, because then my husband and I could just share one. Instead, we have to take up the plug real estate and the countertop real estate of having two units, because I don't think Sonicare makes that kind anymore. So I will put this down below in the box. Now, there's a couple of other things that I added to my routine, and I'm really glad I did, because when I went for my first cleaning after getting vaccinated, it had been over a year, and I was so worried about what my checkup would yield and what the hygienist would say, and I was actually kind of embarrassed in advance, you know? I had just a fantastic checkup. There was like nothing for them to do. Nobody had to get out like the ultrasound cleaner, and barely had to do a thing. I was surprised she was done. But I'll tell you the two things that I did differently. So flossing and brushing, obviously I had been doing all along. But during the pandemic, I decided to start using this product called aerosols, and I'm going to try to find this and link it down below. So I think my husband actually gets a giant thing of this and we just refill these. I take a capful morning and night and gargle and swish it around. And what this is meant to do is to not let a lot of like build up like tartar. So I'm one of those people that I guess I make a lot of saliva, and I often do have a lot of tartar that gets in like just on the inside of my bottom teeth. They usually have to poke around in there and sometimes use the Cavitron for a minute or two. And I was really surprised that I didn't have that problem since I started using this. So I do use this twice a day. I swish it around. I swish it around for at least a good minute and maybe more and spit it out. And after that is when I brush and floss. And then when I'm all done, the last thing I do is I have started using this Epic. Now, I don't know that there's another brand that is a xylitol mouthwash, but that's basically what this is. It is a xylitol mouthwash. The reason why I decided to start using this is because I had done a lot of reading about xylitol, and xylitol cuts down biofilm. Xylitol can break down biofilm, actually, and that's, you know, what I just talked about with flossing. So this says like better than a toothbrush, but, you know, in some ways it kind of is. So when I'm all done morning and night, all done with the brushing, the flossing, anything else I'm going to do, I swish this around for at least a good minute or two. It tastes really good. And, you know, xylitol is an artificial sweetener. I'm not big on eating artificial sweeteners or baking with artificial sweeteners, and I tend to get a little bit of abdominal upset, but just using this as a rinse, I haven't had any problem with it. And I've also added chewing a little bit of xylitol gum once a day, just in the evening after like dinner, and that is pure PUR, and I use the cinnamon one. It's not too minty that way. I like cinnamon better. But I think that adding that xylitol really made a difference, and my dental hygienist told me that it did. So I'm going to put links down below in the description box to these products, and it'll be clearly marked. Most of these things I'm going to just make non-affiliate links like I always do. So then the question is, well, what about when you do go to the dentist, and what should you look for? So my previous dental hygienist, and the one who I'm really going to miss because of the new dentist, she told me that the things they were doing were, of course, sanitizing all the equipment and things like that, but that they were fogging the rooms. And what she explained to me, just, it made so much sense. I never questioned it. She explained that fogging the room, meaning that they're misting it with something that's heavy, it's a spray, that spray will act to sort of bring down any aerosols that are dancing around in the air, because it's heavy, and the mist, as it settles, will take the aerosols down with it. And so they fog the room and wait 10 minutes in between each patient. Now that sounded fantastic to me, and I didn't even give it a second thought. So when I called the office of what's going to be my new dentist, I asked about that, and they kind of sounded like, what? Well, we sanitize everything, and it wasn't really clear that what I was asking about with this word fog and where did it come from. Well, this spurred me to go look into this a little bit further, and please, if anybody has any research about this, please put it down below with a link in the comments section. But you know what I found, I was really surprised, is that fogging is really aimed at surface decontamination, just like washing items and disinfecting items in the autoclave. That's really what fogging is aimed at. And it's aimed at kind of getting into areas like crevices and things where you might not be able to get to that easily, because a room is completely fogged. As that settles, it gets into all these hard to reach areas, and it's really about surface decontamination. Well, okay, that's fine, but you know, I got to go back to what I said before, which is that my common sense just really embraced this concept of fogging the room and pulling down aerosols with it. And I just thought, you know, that's the whole issue about COVID and being indoors with air conditioning in a dry environment versus being outside where there's humidity. I mean, if you kind of make it rain a little bit in the room, it seems to me that that would most likely bring a lot of aerosols down out of the air. So I'm just throwing this out there and speculating out of a position of deep ignorance, I guess. And to anybody that I've advised in the Facebook group's page about the importance of fogging, I must say that this was some information that I got from my dental hygienist, and maybe the substance behind it is incomplete. I don't know. So again, please be prolific if you're in this industry and you can help us at all and enlighten anybody who's watching this video and put something in the comments section. I kind of wish that that would be studied. I only found one article where a dental professional did speculate that this was going to be somewhat helpful in terms of ridding the air of aerosols that are dancing around the room. I don't know, I'd like to see that studied. I understand that dental professionals, contrary to what a lot of people would have thought early on in the pandemic, have not been stricken with COVID to any greater extent than almost anybody else. And so, that's all very reassuring, but they're in full PPE. They're wearing N95s and face shields, just like nurses in the intensive care unit. If you're the patient, you're really unprotected, right? In the meantime, what I'm doing is I'm going to be first thing in the morning. I said I don't mind waiting. I had an appointment in I don't know, the end of August, and instead I have to wait until the end of November. So it pushed it out 3 months so that I could be first thing in the morning and just not worry about all these aerosols dancing around in the air. The other thing I might recommend, and people have talked about different things we might use to protect ourselves when the mask comes off. I had thought about taking or cutting out a section of a polypropylene mask or an N95 or even a plain old surgical mask and using it to tape all around my nose so that at least breathing through my nose, which I can decide I'm going to breathe through my nose, would all be through that polypropylene and that surgical mask or whatever it is. Depending on the state of the pandemic at the time that I go, I think I'm very well likely to do that. I have yet to work on it though. In the meantime, I'm as eager as everybody else to hear more and more ideas and strategies to cope with getting our dental health taken care of during the course of the pandemic. Because I do think, obviously, I think my dental health is very important. I cannot stress enough the importance of all the care that you do at home, because that's the other 363 days a year when you're not at the dentist. And by no means am I saying to delay any care that you need. Now, I did have a time during the pandemic where I felt like something was rough on my gum. I didn't know if I had it wasn't a canker sore, and I didn't know what this area was. Of course, I thought somebody's got to put their eyes on that. And if this is some kind of a tumor, we're going to need to know and get that taken care of. It wasn't. It was a little abrasion from probably overzealous or careless brushing with my Sonicare. So I had to just ease up on that area and it healed. But certainly if you have anything that needs attention, you need to take care of that. We're always weighing our risks. But that said, I'm going to keep up with this home routine probably forever. I probably am going to continue to use the Therasol. I have used a Sonicare for many, many years. I have flossed daily as part of my routine for many years. I'm probably going to move to flossing 2 times a day just because I think that's just a really good idea. I think there's just more awareness now about biofilms, and keeping that biofilm down I think could only be a good thing. And speaking of biofilms, I really think this has been the heavy hitter in my arsenal of new things I've added to my dental routine. So I'm thrilled about this product, and I think it really helped me. I think it was the heavy hitter in keeping my dental health in such excellent condition, even skipping that whole cleaning and checkup during the pandemic. So I'll let you guys know as I learn more and what I do and any lessons that I learn, and please do the same. And until next time, be well. Bye-bye.